win and you are in the playoffs. But it didn't work out like they liked. The Detroit Lions, who had nothing to play for, snapped the Packers' 4-game win streak after their loss. The Lions, Aaron Rodgers' squad has officially finished with an 8-9 record. With all of that being said, we speak about Aaron Rodgers like he is one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. Yeah. But Aaron Rodgers has only been to the Super Bowl one time. The reason I say only, because Ben Roethlisberger went to the Super Bowl a few times. Eli Manning went to the Super Bowl a couple of times. Tom Brady has gone to the Super Bowl 10 times. Patrick Mahomes in his short career has been to the Super Bowl 2 times. Peyton Manning, as we know, went to the Super Bowl 4 times. When you speak of all the other Hall of Fame quarterbacks, they had multiple Super Bowl appearances. But when you think about Aaron Rodgers, he still only has one, and now he's missed the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes has yet to miss the playoffs since he's been a starter. Tom Brady never missed the playoffs, not in Tampa Bay, not in New England when he was a starter and when he was healthy. But Aaron Rodgers, Shady, has once again missed. Is Aaron Rodgers hurting his legacy?
I'm going to say yes. He is hurting his legacy. I would say Aaron Rodgers, to me, he is the greatest regular season quarterback we have ever seen. But the truth is, A-Rod is also the biggest overhyped quarterback we've ever seen. Let's keep it real here. Postseason, we talked about, he never shows up. In 18 seasons, right, he's only been to the Super Bowl 1 time, right? He's 1-4 in the NFC Championship games. I mean, that's great. Regular season, but in postseason, he don't show up. 2 of them games, he was first seed. It's Aaron Rodgers, 4-time MVP, right? Mm-hmm. So he tells you he can ball. He has the most talent I've ever seen any quarterback. You would argue probably him or Dan Marino, most talented quarterbacks. Most overrated quarterback we've ever seen. He does great in the regular season. We get to the playoffs, a lot of excuses. He's super arrogant through the whole year. Soon they lose in the playoffs, he gets real humble, sad, like somebody passed away. Y'all seen the interviews. Y'all see how he acts? Oh, I'll just take some time and see what happens, you know. I'm tired of that. A-Rod is a beast in the regular season. Playoff, I don't see it. We got to stop comparing him with the super greats. The Joe Montanas, Tom Brady's, put them over there. Like, put them, you know, it's like different rides. Go to amusement parks, you got different rides. You got, this ride is like the best of the best. He's like over here. You're working your way up there, that's it. Had a great career. I love A-Rod, but the truth is, he's one of the most overrated quarterbacks we've ever seen.
How can you say that? Because somebody at home listening is like, Shady, he's a 4-time MVP.
Yeah.
How can a 4-time NFL MVP be overrated?
When we talk about all the great quarterbacks, right? Brady, Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, right? They go to the playoffs. They go to championships. They go to Super Bowls. A-Rod, he doesn't. He balls out in the regular season, and it was time to go to the playoffs. He doesn't show up. He doesn't. It's the truth. I just named it to you. Like, and his playoff record is 11-10. I can't make this up. So as much as you want to give him the credit for being super great, because he is, he's super talented. It's going to be hard to see another quarterback with that type of arm strength, that type of potential, this type of talent. You probably won't see it again. But we look at this, comparing the stats, the numbers, this success, production, and the playoffs, it's not there. And we all know this stat right here. Quarterbacks are always determined on what they do in the playoffs and the Super Bowl rings. Am I tripping? So, yes, people don't want to say it because I guess it's sensitive because it is A-Rod, because he is a 4-time MVP champion, right? Champion. MVP, right? And he doesn't have a chip. But when we compare him to the other greats, he can't stand with them guys.
Where you stand, Joy, on this take?
I mean, is he hurting his legacy? Not if you've just been paying attention to what he's been doing for the past few years. He's not. It's the same. Last 6 seasons, he has 2 playoff wins.
Say it again, I didn't hear you.
Last 6 seasons, he has 2 playoff wins.
You can't make that up.
Can't make it up. I don't make the rules. This is just what it is. We watch the games, we keep the recordings. It's on Google. It's free if in your area, I'm sure. Look, it is what it is. Like, he's a great regular season quarterback. His numbers are essentially the exact same in the postseason. Greats do what? Better in the postseason. It's not that he's not an all-time great. It's not that he's not all-time talented. Yeah. I feel like we got to keep saying this. But when you're having conversations about Tom Brady or Joe Montana or Peyton Manning or these guys that have been to multiple championships or won multiple championships, you gotta keep the perspective. We have measurables for greatness. It's championships. It's not just regular season MVPs. And if we want to talk about the last 2 MVPs, when you look at what happened this year, you got to give Davante Adams more credit than he gets for playing the role in those MVP wins. Like, you just do. And we have a whole season. I know they went 7-0 without Devontae Adams and he had a bunch of numbers and all that. That's great. We have a whole season of evidence now. What they should have done is replace Devontae Adams, and they didn't because they thought that Aaron Rodgers was still at the level that a guy like Patrick Mahomes is at. And at one point in Aaron's career, he might have been able to do that. But he's not the same guy now, and that's fine. Everybody ages. It happens. But all year, they struggled. They weren't winning because of Aaron. When they did start winning, it wasn't because of Aaron. And then it was, oh, well, what are they going to say about us now? Nothing, because you're not in the postseason. So what are we talking about here? You have to be consistently there. You can't win if you're not there. And when he does get there, he doesn't really win.
They lose.
I think all of this stuff can be true. Like, I don't really feel like being defend Aaron Rodgers guy, but keep in mind how long he's been playing football. Like, it was a long time ago, but the 2010 season still counts. Carrying a 6 seed through the postseason and balling out to win Super Bowl MVP, that's going to count forever. Mm-hmm. He's made several runs to the NFC Championship game since then. Like, he has had playoff success. This is not a case of a guy who always falls apart. Now, that's where this comes in, and I agree with you, Joy. I don't think he's hurt his legacy. I just don't think he's raised it over the last 5 years. Like, replay some of these seasons. If he gets to a couple more Super Bowls, wins another Super Bowl, 2 Super Bowls, I think you can put him in that rarefied air with the Montanas and maybe even the Bradys. But he didn't do that, and so you can't. And now I think Aaron Rodgers is one of the best to ever play, but he's in that jumble. A lot of guys are in that jumble, and he's one of them now. And, I mean, football's hard, dude. Dan Marino only went to 1 Super Bowl, and he didn't win it. Drew Brees only went to 1 Super Bowl. Rodgers' predecessor, who we're not going to talk about, he went to 2 and won 1. He only got 1 ring. There's loads of amazing quarterbacks that were lucky to get 1 ring,
but
or maybe
didn't. This amazing. I think that's the problem.
Well, and I think that's where I am right now. Is like there was a period in my career where I thought Rodgers was. You can't even fit on the screen.
Me too. Oh my God, me too.
And now I'm like, oh no, like you're here. You're down here with Brees and with some other guys.
Brees, because I've always said the better comp for Aaron Rodgers
is Drew Brees.
Is Drew Brees.
Yeah.
And it was outrageous, but
Aaron Rodgers is just Drew Brees
really
with a more abrasive personality. That's all it is.
The problem with that comp, I guess, speaking from the likes of defenders, is Brees has no NFL MVPs to Rodgers 4. Mm-hmm. And you can't compare the talent. Like, no. When it comes down to individual talent, what I think Brees was better at is making everybody around him better.
I agree with that.
And I also believe that for a long period of time, Brees was more likable. He got into some issues later on in his career that people started to question him for, but Brees significantly more lovable. I mean, Brees is loved by several franchises.
But when we're talking about comps, he's closer to Brees than he is to Brady.
I agree with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
At this point, but comp in terms of what?
In terms of
talent, or in terms of
people try to argue that Tom Brady isn't really that talented. So talent really is a relative conversation. We all know Tom Brady is talented.
Yeah.
Drew Brees was also very talented. That's a very like subjective conversation.
I got one
what
for
we
y'all.
do have that's not subjective is playoff wins and losses, playoff numbers, and championships won and championship games played. Those are not subjective conversations.
And that's the thing with me is like, A-Rod is probably, from watching ball my whole life, he might be the most talented quarterback I've ever seen, talent-wise.
Yeah.
But the issue I have with him is we don't want to compare him with Brees. Yep. We don't want to compare him with guys like Ben Roethlisberger. We love to put him up there with Tom Brady, right? That's my issue. So when I say the most overhyped quarterback we've ever seen, for you to have 4 MVPs, right? For you to be this guy with all this talent, you're not achieving nothing like the other guys that's on that level, like the Joe Montanas or the Tom Bradys. That's my problem. So when I'm saying that he's the most overhyped quarterback we've ever seen, that's the reason why, because of as much talent you have.
And you always have to just say it ever so delicately, because you don't want to upset anyone when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. Because really, last year, the way the Cowboys were dragged for the way that they lost, compared to the way that the Packers were not dragged.
Packers got off easy.
For the way that they lost, it's not even comparable.
2 years in a row.
We should have said nothing about the Cowboys compared to how much worse it was the way that the Packers lost in the playoffs last year. But that's how it goes.
I don't know if we have time for this, but like, what about Peyton? Like, Peyton Manning feels like a good comp to me. And Peyton Manning got the 2nd ring, but let's all be real about what was happening there. And so, I mean, Rodgers never had a generational defense, but you think about the regular season.
Hey, come on, man. Come on. He won a
there?
championship. Chip's a chip. He won it.
Yeah.
I mean, he
How
did.
do you take that from him?
I'm not taking it from him. I'm just
Sounds like
saying.
you're quantifying it. You're quantifying.
Acho's giving me the look that tells me he agrees with me. He's just not going to say it.
Man, come on.